What is going on, guys? Noah here with Custom RC Mods out in the backyard with the FT Vector. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be flying it. If you guys watched my recently posted video that's comparing this and the FT22, right after that, I flew a pack through it, and there was some current draw issues, I guess. The ESC started smoking, caught fire, and burned this thing up. There's smoke everywhere. It was an absolute mess. Thankfully, I got my battery out safely and was able to contain the smoke and the flames. You can see in there, there's a lot of fire and things like that, and burned up parts of this foam. So we're gonna go ahead and use this razor blade and kind of tear this apart and see if we can salvage some pieces out of it. We're not gonna be testing these in this segment at least, but we'll be doing that a little bit later. So I'm assuming this airframe is just garbage at this point. So yeah, let's go ahead and see. It looks like, okay, first things first, we got a receiver here. I don't think that this is gonna be any good. That satellite wire doesn't look good at all. So we got our receiver right here. That's gonna be interesting. Looks like the connector right here was pretty well burned up, and that board smells pretty fried. All right, so there's that. Not exactly sure about the condition of this motor. It is running pretty smoothly. I mean, it's turning. That's good. Okay, let's go ahead and get this ESC. Looks like all the motor wires have been disconnected from the actual ESC itself, which is interesting. Come on, let's get this ESC out here. All right, so this is where the problem started. This is a ZTW Beetles 30 amp ESC right here, and unfortunately, it looks like we ran too much current through it, and it popped this capacitor way off, just blew it off right there, sitting back towards the motor mount right there. That does not look good. Yeah, so this ESC, you're just gonna go ahead and rip this. This is the beginning of all the problems. We got our label, we got a metal piece right there, back of the circuit board. Yeah, that just does not look good. Of course, we got our servo lead right here that we can use for something else. So yeah, receiver, I hope this is in good condition because these are actually useful, but that doesn't look too promising. I'm gonna go ahead and rip out my motor mount as well. You can see here's the main ESC board right here, all fried. That is unfortunate right there, but it seems like the motor is in functional condition. I think the issue was that my prop is just a little bit too big for this inefficient setup. So I should have run a 5x4 prop or a 51-52 prop, or at least like a 6x3.5, but this is a 6x4.5, a full-on tri-blade, a racing quad prop. So yeah, I guess that's to be expected to some extent on there like that. So that's unfortunate, but thankfully it looks like the motor might be just fine. Some burnt windings in there, but with any luck I think that we could be able to use that once again. So yeah, looks like of course the heat shrink tubing is completely mangled on here. Again, that receiver, hopefully that still works, or at the very least I hope that this satellite still works, but hopefully there wasn't any adverse electrical shock that kind of went through all the wiring systems and toasted everything, because that would not be good. But yeah, let's go ahead and just set some stuff off to the side. The nose cone is perfectly fine, of course, but obviously don't really want to mess around with that, because this is just going to be a scrapped airframe at this point. So put all those pieces in there. Looks like we got the receiver going in there, servo lead going in there. Let's go ahead, make sure we got everything. Of course, there's a razor blade here. We're going to put them all in a little pile right there. And here we are. Let's first start off by ripping off the belly pan of this airplane, like that. And we can go ahead and get our servo wires out of the main part of the fuselage. That's all burnt up, as you can see. Looks like the main fire started kind of in this area right here and spread out among, and that looks like the receiver might have caught on fire. I don't know what that's about. Okay, push that through. Push that through like that. Here's our servo wires glued down. Take those out. And then let's go ahead and pop these servos out from the other side of the foam. Just like that. These were good servos, so also assuming that there wasn't any electrical current that was bad, that was kind of sent through those during the smoke and the flames, I think we'll be good to go. All right, so those are our two servo pieces. We'll rip out the control horns as well while we're at it. like that. And of course the last thing we got is this bind plug extension. I'm gonna head in here. I'm guessing this thing is completely charred. Yeah, it doesn't look good right there. Looks like the installation is mostly intact, but I'll definitely be trading out the wire on this before I ever use it again. So yeah, that's the airframe. Still somewhat intact, but this entire internal fuselage area is all kind of warm and obviously charred. That's unfortunate, guys, but again, all the parts we got here of the airplane, it looks like our receiver is probably the only thing besides the ESC that looks damaged. I could really bet money on that wouldn't work, but we'll have to try this out. So let's go ahead and take all the functional pieces inside and see if they all work. Alright guys, so we're back inside now. It's been a few days since that original clip was filmed. I just let the electronics kind of air out on the porch. Of course, they had that like burnt, smoky smell from the incident there, and I was just trying to get rid of that. I wiped them down the best I could, hopefully without damaging them. Then I did a full systems check on them in here, and looks like everything is working kind of as desired from the factory. I haven't obviously put them through their paces, but the receiver was the thing that took the brunt of the at least cosmetic damage, but what could have easily been, component damage in there, and it bound up just fine to my radio, and was able to control the servos and the motor flawlessly, so that's good, but maybe range was reduced. I'm not totally sure. It's just an experiment at this point, and I can easily switch it out if I really need to. But over here for my motor system, I just went ahead and replaced the ESC with another ZTW 30 amp ESC. Pretty simple. It's the same one that was involved in the incident. However, I think that with a more conservative prop choice, we're going to be good to go in that sense as well. And then again, I also went ahead and used the original wires. You noticed in that last clip that the ESC wires actually came unsoldered from the board. So I was able to just use those as kind of like a motor extension wire past, and I soldered on some bullets. That's going to also solve the other problem I was having, which was kind of fatiguing the motor wires, at least in their connection to the windings. So I'm glad I got that worked out now. Yeah, servos really weren't damaged, of course, because they're kind of, external from the incident, being back behind the fuselage. But yeah, it's good to go, and I'm glad to say that all the electronics did survive the incident. Even the battery was just fine. I tested the cell voltage over multiple days, and it was constant. All three cells were balanced to storage voltage, and I also monitored the pack for any physical signs of damage from the incident. No damage or wear was found there, so I charged it back up, and we are good to go. Now I am working on getting the new FT Vector all completed, so I went ahead and got my tiled plans kind of all printed out and taped together, and then we're going to go ahead and finish that up tonight. And the last thing I want to talk about in this little segment is the props. You can see I've got three options right here. We're first going to be starting off with something a little bit more conservative. This is the Diatone 5x4 prop right here. And this is what I kind of start all my planes, especially like the PowerPack F-Spec planes with. I have this prop right here on the 2700 kV motor on the Goblin. And that's a good fit for that as well. And then we're going to go ahead and hopefully move up to the GemFan 5152 quad prop right here. This one is nice because it has like vortex generators on the side. It's going to be good paired with a loud prop and slot setup that's really inefficient normally. And that's going to hopefully kind of tone down the volume on that, because those seem to be very loud, and this is a very quiet spinning prop right there as well. And then hopefully my end result, my end goal really is to get to this 6x35 prop, which is going to be a good option, of course, for this, because it's going to give me all of the thrust I can get, the widest amount of thrust, but still be nice and smooth and hopefully not fatigue the motor. And originally, if you guys are wondering, we were running that 6x45 tri-blade prop. So 6x35 bi-blade is going to be a lot better in my opinion. So yeah, we've got all these stuff here. I'm just going to go ahead and get to building. I'm not really going to cover the build process at all, at least as much as I originally did in the build and initial thoughts video. If you guys want to see that build log, it'll be in the link in the description below. So if this is your first time building the Vector and you want to know more about that, you can find it there, as well as with all my other flight videos. I've done about 3 with this plane so far, and probably will see many more in the future. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the FT Mini Vector built, and I'll get you guys updated when I'm done. Alright guys, so it's about 2 hours later, and as you can see, the completed FT Vector is here on the workbench, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Of course, being my second time building the airplane, I was able to kind of improve where I fell short initially, and it just overall was a lot easier to put together because I, again, have already built this plane. The fuselage is a lot tighter on this. One of my original problems is that I cut my cavities too wide, so it was flimsy, and it actually doesn't even fit my 1300 milliamp hour batteries anymore. And I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's a very, very solid build overall. Let's go into some changes from the original build. First things first, of course, as you might be able to notice, we have the original FT Vector nose off the first rendition. Obviously, it wasn't damaged in the crash because there wasn't really a crash. It was just a landing and then smoke. So I was able to use this. And then as you can see, I have my pieces for a nose that I'll be building probably tomorrow. So that we can use that. But for the maiden and just the first initial flights, of course, the crashes are somewhat inevitable and can be expected. So I'm going to go ahead and crumple that nose in rather than crumpling in my brand new one. So yeah, let's go ahead and just talk electronics for a second. First things first, of course, 5x4 prop from Diatone mounted up on the motor. And you can see the nice thing about these 5-inch props is that they actually don't get in the way of the workbench, as they're spinning around and around on the bench right here. I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, it really doesn't mean anything for in-flight tendencies, but I mean, that's kind of interesting to me. Now let's talk about our control systems. I have really high rates on here now. I wanted as much maneuverability as possible, so on these two servos, I went ahead and jacked up the rates real high, as well as I went ahead and added some more expo, of course, just to keep this thing controllable. And another thing I did was I went ahead and added a rudder tab. So you can see right here on the underside of this thing, it does have the option for that, and that is just such an interesting feature. Obviously, it's not really going to do as much as like a full rudder would like here on the FT Scout, but I'm really interested to see how this performs on this FT Vector here, because I want this to be as maneuverable and as aerobatic as possible, and I think that the rudder tab is really going to help, so I guess I'll just keep you guys posted on how that turns out. Now, of course, we have our LemonRx satellite mounted below, and if you didn't catch it from before, we do have the antennas from the sides kind of sticking out. They're not at 90 degrees from each other in terms of the satellite and the original one, but I guess that's just how I did it before, and I didn't have any issues. Now, another thing I want to talk about is that we are running an 850 milliamp hour battery. I kind of hinted at that before, that my fuselage is built a lot better, but you can see right here, it kind of slides in below, and I made sure to mount my ESC right on top so we have plenty of slack in my battery wire so we don't end up stressing the motor wires out there as well. So I think we're going to be in good shape in that regard, and of course the 850 milliamp hour battery is a nice snug fit in there. I might add some Velcro for later, but I think that it's just good as it is right now. So yeah, that's it for the FT Vector tonight, guys. It's about 10:30 at night, so I'm going to go head to bed, and hopefully we'll be able to do a maiden tomorrow with it. I'm super excited to get it back up in there and hopefully not blow up another ESC. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe. Show your support to the channel. Work really hard on these videos. It'll be, I would love it if you guys could return the favor. Smash the like button, comment down below, and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.